Okay, so now we'll talk about what love, how it will evolve. Just like how Elon Musk talk about how there will be a universal income, means everyone will make $5,000 a month, and everyone will be able to spend $5,000 a month, and they don't have to work because robots will handle all the work for us, right? So when that happens, how are we gonna live our life, and how is the world gonna shift probably?
So we are gonna be much more based on what we can give each other.
Yeah.
And that is gonna be our emotions and our love. And anything else, fun could be another thing to give as well.
And when you look at Josep, if you look at his eyes, right, he has one of the most loving eyes I've ever seen. And you know, it's like a very childlike, and it's so lovely. So and it was not always like that. It was not always like that.
No,
right?
not at all.
And he had to go through a lot to learn how to love. It's not easy to learn how to love because loving requires us to use our heart, which in our economy right now is all about the head. It's the head that makes you the money, not the heart that makes you the money. But in the future, it's the heart that's going to make you really wealthy. I'm not talking about very rich. I'm talking about very wealthy. Because only by using your heart will you be able. If you keep using your brain, you will never be able to reach your self-actualization, your self-esteem, self-actualization needs, because those are needs where you have to feel it. You know, you can reach your survival needs, you can reach your social needs by being intelligent, but you cannot reach your self-actualization needs and all that from not using your heart.
Yeah.
And Josep, who is a PhD, you know, super smart guy, top 2% of the population in Spain, he has learned how to use his heart. Maybe he can share how to use your heart in whatever you do, you know, and have passion whatever you do.
Yeah, and following what you were saying, that love is very important because in a few years, right, we are gonna have accountant AIs. We are gonna have online courses of everything. Everything will be online. Everything will be. Most of the things will be free, right? And most of the jobs most of us have, will eventually be replaced by robots.
The only thing that AIs cannot beat humans about is love.
Yeah.
Imagine
you are an employee.
Until maybe there's a AI that can put oxytocin in your brain to make you love more. Other than that, the only thing that we human beings have a competitive edge over the AI 50 years from now will be love.
Yeah.
And which is why you should go all in on love.
Yeah.
You should go all in on empathy,
Yeah.
and how to love yourself and how to love others.
Yeah. If exactly, if your job description is that you make these very complicated calculations, right? That the computer will be able to do. If your job description is that you give love to people, that's gonna be difficult to change, right? So we will still need each other. We are still human beings. At the end of the day, we are animals. We are beings. We are here, and we love to be with other people. And the sad thing is that in the last 100 years, right, as we became very head-centered. All the jobs we require to think more and more, and we've forgotten about emotions. Myself, the first one.
At the start, in the 2,000 years ago, maybe we used a lot of our limbs, our hands and legs to do work, right? And then after we move on to using a lot of our head, and now we are moving on to using a lot of our hearts, to do. And which is why, for me, I've always struggled with being a spiritual businessman. I've always struggled because the best thing that is the best for the welfare of everyone, and the best thing that makes the most profits might not be the same. But I can tell you that in 50 years or 100 years from now, love and wealth will be very, very correlated, because the people who know how to love better are the people who are going to succeed. Not the people with the best strategies, because strategies will be out there. You can learn so many online courses and all that. You don't even need to learn from a school. You can take a PhD from home, maybe without a certificate, but you can learn a PhD from home. I learned everything about business from reading books and just by myself, without So love will be that currency of the future. It makes business sense to love. A lot of people think that love doesn't make you money. It makes you money. It makes business sense to love, right? So Josep, maybe you can share how you evolved. What was it that you went through, or do you go for courses or what that taught you how to love?
Oh, for me, the most important part has been real experience, particularly with the anxiety disorder I used to have. I used to have fear of open spaces, which developed into anxiety disorder, meaning that I used to panic for absolutely everything under the sun, you know, from eating to getting out to basically everything. And, you know, by my strategy knowledge, I think, was given to me in 1 hour. I needed 1 hour to understand in my head what I had to do. And understanding that didn't change anything in my life. I was as poor and as unhealthy as I was before knowing that. It was when I started exposing myself to my fears, you know, traveling to places I would have never thought of, talking to people I didn't know before. You know, coming to a different continent with a completely different culture. All these things really make a change in me. And it's not something I can really explain so much, right? That this is because of this reason, this is because of that reason. I mean,
So it's an accumulation of all the different small decisions that you made.
It's experience what really makes the difference. This being said, of course, you know, I mean, that's to me the most important part. However, there's a second part which is also very important to me, which is going to Miracle Life courses, in which I also learn to be more connected with my emotions, which really helped me a lot, especially with my health. Because I used to, last year, I almost died because of, basically because of my emotions and because of a dengue fever infection. And I was hospitalized in NUH for 2 months. And what really made the difference for me, you know, like I used to go to doctors didn't even know what was happening to me. And it was when I met Marisa, my current girlfriend, that I started improving. It was the same day I met her that I started
Love
improving.
is what's gonna cure.
Lack of love was killing me, really.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about that. So imagine how frustrating it was at the time. And that's when I learned so much. That was a big lesson for me. And it's not something I can learn in a course, or you know, I could learn, but it's when you experience it that really makes a difference. And it's life and going to courses like Miracle Life that really changed my life in how I experience.
So you know, like in business, we're taught never believe, never trust. You know, like don't trust anyone, don't trust your business partner, don't trust like don't trust anyone 100%, right? So does that conflict with the idea about love? Are we supposed to trust unconditionally, or are we supposed to not trust but still be able to love you?
I think that the most important thing is to trust yourself. You of course you need to trust others, and you need to distrust some others. And I think that to decide which one you should do, right, is trust yourself. Go with your feeling. If you feel that somebody, you know, that it's not coming to you with the right intention, well, trust that. It's probably true.
That's true. I've been beaten by so many sharks in business before. So many. You know, and sometimes it's like after I keep getting betrayed or stabbed in the back, then it becomes a lot harder to love, because it's like, you know, it's like a wound that if it's not healed, then it's very hard to love again. But at the end of the day, I always go back to love, and I always go back to not hating anyone, not bearing any grudges, because it doesn't serve me. It's not because I love the person. It's not because of the other person. That's why I don't bear grudges. It's because of myself. Because why should I, if I hate someone, why should I bear the grudge and cause myself the disease and heartache and all that, when I can just love the person, and it's better for both parties, you know? Yeah. So I always believe that love is always the best emotion. But that being said, I don't believe that we should allow ourselves to enter into abusive relationships. Which means some people, they know that this relationship doesn't serve them anymore. Maybe the boyfriend is beating them, or they are being betrayed or what. But they still keep going and spiraling into it. It becomes an addiction. So there's a difference between loving, okay, and allowing yourself to be susceptible to abuse. There's this book by David R. Hawkins. There's this book by, what's his name? Richard Dawkins. He wrote this book called Selfish Gene, right? It's a biology book. It talks about how everyone was born selfish, right? And so he talks about how it's best. Okay, so basically, okay, there's this let's say we have a game, right? A prisoner's dilemma. Okay, let's say we have a game, right? So I'll be in a prison cell. Josep will be in a prison cell. Okay, so for me, if I don't rat him out, okay, and he doesn't rat me out, both of us won't have to enter prison, right? If I rat him out but he doesn't rat me out, okay, I don't have to enter prison, but he has to enter 10 years. Okay, if I rat him out and he rats me out, we both enter prison. You know, for 5 years. Okay, let's say. So basically, the best choice, right, for everyone, right, is to rat the other person out. You might think that that the most win-win way, right, will be to not rat anyone out, right? But actually, the best choice is to rat for an individual is to rat the person out. Why? Because if I rat him out, okay, if he doesn't rat me out, I don't have to go to prison, right? If he rats me out, I serve lesser sentence than, okay,
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
if you know,
You read the book before, right?
Yeah, I know
Okay, yeah,
about
explain.
Nash equilibrium, man. The thing is that, you know, if I blame you for the crime, right, I get off and I get the benefit, right? However, if I do it, he might also do it, right? So then the situation is that we both do it and we both lose.
Oh
both.
yeah. Okay.
Right?
Because if let's say I rat him out, okay, if he doesn't rat me out, I'm safe. You know, I don't serve at all. If he rats me out, I only serve 5 years rather than having to serve 10 years by myself if he rats me out. You know, so so that's what they did. So assuming there's no reputation and this is a one-time game, right? It is always better to rat the other person out. So it's always better to be selfish rather than to be selfless, right? However, if you take this game 50 times, if you play this game 50 times, right, rather than just one time, okay, and then it becomes different because in life it's a long-term game. It's not just a one-time game, right? So they did 50 times and they did a simulation. Means everyone will come out with their own program where they will put in their simulation for how the thing is supposed to work out, right? So they had some people who always was selfless, means they always choose not to rat the person out. There were people who the most evil, they keep ratting the other person out. There were people who were tit for tat, means if you rat me out this turn, next turn I'm gonna rat you out. If you don't rat me out this turn, next turn I'm not gonna rat you out. So tit for tat. So there's tit for tat that starts off good and tit for tat that starts off bad, right? And then there's also like maybe three good and one bad. 3 good and 1 bad means like 3 times you don't rat him out, 3 times or 1 time you rat him out. And what they have found to be the best simulation after they do the game theory is that tit for tat is the best approach to go. Because if that guy is super evil, if he rat me out, I'm gonna rat him out the next turn, right? And we're just gonna rat him out, both rat each other out. But it's better than me having to serve 10 years if he rats me out and I don't rat him out. So it's still more beneficial to me to use tit for tat. And there's also tit for tat good that starts off good and tit for tat that starts off bad. Means the first move is to rat him out. Can you imagine if a tit for tat starts off bad together with another tit for tat that starts off bad? They're gonna be bad. But if a tit for tat starts off good and another tit for tat starts off good, they fight with each other, they're gonna be good. So they realize that the best permutation that causes you to survive the best in life is to be tit for tat and be good. Which means whenever I meet a business person or whenever I meet a friend or whenever I meet a new person, I'm always good to them first. I'm always nice to them first, and I always give first until they betray me one time, and that's when the next round I'm going to give them a taste of their medicine. And it's important to do that because if you are always like a saint and you're always trying to give, then people will abuse that. People think that hey, this guy he's a people pleaser. I can abuse him and betray him and get away with it. You must not do that. You must always have a reputation, right? I have this reputation that if you betray me, I will bite you like a dog, you know. But at the same time, when you first meet me, I'm the nicest person and I love you and I care about you and but just don't stab me in the back, you know. So it's not about always loving and being a saint. It's about loving first, and if people betray you, you need to teach them a lesson so that they don't betray other people, you know. And I think that is how the economy should run. Everyone should adopt this belief, tit for tat, but start off with good first. Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. And also, I would like to add into this because if you read if you read books of economics about nice equilibrium and this kind of games, right? One of the things that they typically say is that like there are games in which the rational decision leads you to both of you losing, right? How you were describing, right? And like you both blame the other, and then both of you lose.
Yeah.
Right. And and they always tend to say things like, well, this proves that being rational can bring you to disaster. And I always feel like, well, yeah, actually this means that it can bring you to disaster, and that perhaps making rational decisions sometimes might not be the best decision, might not be the rational decision. And because in reality, all these games make a lot of sense because we play them, in very specific environments, right? And for the small things like, when you meet a customer, that is very valuable information, right? As you were saying, right? If somebody begs you, I pack.
Yeah. You have to.
You have to.
If not, if you let them keep pushing you over and you don't set the boundaries for example, if I'm if let's say I'm a girl or if let's say I'm a guy and I enter an abusive relationship where my girlfriend beats me up, I'm gonna leave that relationship. No way in the heaven would I stay in that relationship. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also, I would like to move to a different direction here. Is that for many of us, sometimes we want to find strategies to move. What direction my business should go. I have 20 decisions. Which one should I pick, right? And sometimes, we are tempted to go to these strategy books and see, and then they tend to explain these theories of Nash equilibria and prisoners' dilemmas and things like this. And I always find it very funny because the issue I find with those is that all of these situations are very close cases, right? There are 2-3 decisions possible, and 5-6 outcomes. And once I ask myself, and what would happen if I have more outcomes? This is more real to our daily life. Who should I date? I mean, come on, there's millions of people, of girls in Singapore only. Which one should I date? Right? That's kind of complicated. And I researched into this, and Nash, the guy who invented all these things,
John Nash, yeah.
When he discovered his theorem, right, one of the things he said is that all what he says makes only sense as long as there are only few solutions. But he didn't know what would happen after. Now, just after him, there was another mathematician who expanded the theory. And what he proved is something very interesting. He proved that when there are many more solutions, there is no way to find the right solution. When you have 20 possibilities, when you have 50 possibilities, something like real life, mathematics prove, not that they don't know, they actually prove you that there's no good solution.
Yeah,
that all solutions are equally good.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you have so many options, go with your feeling.
Yeah.
That's why we have feelings, actually.
Yeah.
Because when we evolved from the monkeys and all this, right? I mean, this is something nature found out. There are so many decisions to make. Which one should we pick? Nature could have invented the perfect rational computer that make these calculations. Biology can do that. There's no problem in it. There's nothing in us that does not allow us to do these things. If we are the way we are, it's precisely because nature found out that people who go with their instincts survive much faster than those who thought too much. Because if you start thinking too much, you end in paralysis.
Imagine you see a lion, then you start thinking, should I run? Or by the time the lion has eaten you already.
Yeah, I am an expert on doing this particularly. I mean, I say this, it's something I learned for myself. I tend to all the time overanalyze everything. And where you end in paralysis. You don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. So if you end in that situation, my recommendation, go with your feeling. That's what it has been designed for, to follow it.
Alright, so in the next video, we were talking about yoga, spirituality, and what else? Yoga, spirituality,
and
religion.
Yeah, religion too.
Alright.
That don't kill me, can only make me stronger. I need you to hurry up now, cause I can't wait much longer. I know I got to be right now, cause I can't get much longer. Man, I've been waiting all night now, that's how long I've been on ya.